Welcome back to True Cyber Crimes, the podcast where we peel back the layers of the digital world to expose the darkness lurking beneath. I'm Chris.
And I'm Nick. In our first two episodes, we explored the why and the how, the motivations, the dark web infrastructure, and the meticulous operational blueprint of ransomware attacks. But today, we're pulling back the curtain on the deepest layer of all, the technical wizardry and the surprisingly corporate structure that operates behind the digital curtain.
Today, we're going to dissect the very heart of those operations, the malware itself, and the sophisticated teams that build and deploy it. What really goes on behind the scenes to create these insidious digital weapons and orchestrate global extortion campaigns.
That's right, from the cutting edge of custom malware development and advanced evasion techniques to the organized, almost corporate-like structures of the groups themselves. It's a sophisticated, high-stakes game of cat and mouse. It's a testament to human ingenuity twisted for malicious intent.
Let's start with the malware. This isn't your grandfather's computer viruses. While basic ransomware might once have been off the shelf, modern ransomware, particularly from the top tier groups, often involves highly customized payloads tailored to specific targets or designed to exploit specific vulnerabilities. It's an arms race where the attackers are constantly innovating.
Exactly right. We're talking about highly skilled developers, often with backgrounds in legitimate software engineering, who apply advanced programming techniques to ensure their creations can bypass multi-layered defenses of today's enterprise networks. Their primary objective is stealth, to sneak past antivirus software, sophisticated endpoint detection response systems or EDRs, and network intrusion detection. One key technique is polymorphism, where the malware is constantly changing its own code and structure with each infection, making it much harder for the signature-based detection to catch up.
Think about the notorious case of the critical infrastructure attack a few years back. The initial breach was standard, but the payload itself was a master class in bespoke destruction. Instead of simply encrypting files, the variant was specifically engineered to identify and corrupt the configuration files and the operational technology systems, the industrial control systems that manage the plant's power grid. It wasn't just a digital lockout, it was a targeted sabotage, rendering essential services unstable without any encryption at all, making recovery incredibly complex. The attackers knew exactly what they were going after, down to the specific file types and registry keys, making standard recovery almost impossible and forcing a massive effort to manually rebuild systems from scratch.
I imagine in that scenario, they were probably doing a lot of the living off of the lands concept, right? You don't know
They would
exactly what
have
you're
had
going
to.
after, where it is, unless you've spent ample time, investigating and learning and putting your plan of attack together.
True.
Um, and then there's obfuscation. This is where the code hides in its true intent. It buries malicious commands under layers of encryption, meaningless junk code, and anti-analysis tricks. It's like a spy speaking in riddles, sometimes even rewriting itself to avoid signature-based detection. They study how security researchers reverse engineer their tools, and then they build in countermeasures, making the analyst's job exponentially more difficult.
Beyond just hiding, these sophisticated strains also excel at sandbox evasion. Malicious software is often executed in isolated virtual environments or sandboxes to analyze its behavior without harming real systems. But modern ransomware is designed to detect if it's in such an environment. It might check for telltale signs like minimal RAM, a single CPU core, no mouse movement, or a lack of common software. If detected, it might simply shut down, behave benignly, or wait for a specific time or user interaction before executing its payload, effectively time bombing the analysis. The level of cunning makes detection incredibly challenging.
Beyond the code, let's talk about the people. The days of the lone wolf hacker are largely over, especially for high impact ransomware. What we're seeing now are highly organized criminal enterprises, something that we've talked about, at length here. It's not just a few individuals. Some groups operate with a structure and professionalism that rival, mid-sized technology companies.
Yeah, absolutely. They clearly define roles and departments. You'll find dedicated malware developers who build and maintain the core ransomware, the decryptors and the command and control infrastructure. Then there are the initial access brokers, the IABs, who specialize in breaching networks and selling that access. You have affiliates, the foot soldiers, who buy or rent access to the ransomware, conduct a reconnaissance, deploy the payload, and often handle the initial negotiations.
It's a full. They've got an org chart. They probably have Teams or Slack, or the dark version of Teams and Slack, and all that. And it doesn't stop there. Some groups have dedicated negotiation teams, people who are skilled in psychological warfare and financial leverage, often fluent in multiple languages, communicate with the victim via dark web portals. There are infrastructure managers who ensure their servers and networks remain resilient and anonymous. And chillingly, some of the larger groups, like the now disbanded Conti Syndicate, even had their own human resources departments for vetting new recruits, along with bonus structures and employee dispute resolution processes. It's an entire ecosystem of specialization. And I kind of I hear that and I wonder, like, are dark web, like, hacker for hire company HR groups as stringent as the HR teams I've worked with? Like, did they have to guard their words and actions? Like, what's that training like from that kind of HR team?
Right, right. And the leaked chat logs from the Conti group provided an astonishing window into the corporate-like structure. We saw project managers assigning tasks, developers complaining about deadlines, and even HR personnel mediating disputes between members over revenue shares or perceived slights. So I'm guessing they probably are pretty similar, Nick. There were discussions about performance reviews, bonuses for successful attacks, and even internal training sessions on how to better bypass security software. It was less like a shadowy criminal gang and more like a twisted startup, complete with all the bureaucracy and internal policies you'd find in any legitimate tech company, just focused on illicit gain.
In my mind, I assume hackers and those who are doing these things have done it because it's like, I don't want the hassle of a 9 to 5 job, of hiring and all that. It's like, this is going to be easier. Could you imagine getting fired from your ransomware as a service gig and being like, I'm going straight, I can't deal with this crap
Hey, could
anymore?
you just write up a good review? Could you put together a letter of recommendation for me?
Maybe a LinkedIn referral.
Yeah, yeah.
um, this modular specialized approach is largely a product of the ransomware as a service model, which has truly changed the game. Pioneered in its modern form by groups like Locky and Cerber back around 2016, and then perfected by groups like Revel, DarkSide, and Lockbit. Ransomware as a service, essentially allows less technical criminals to launch incredibly sophisticated attacks using rented tools and infrastructure.
We've been talking about these for a long time and how they've been evolving and developing. And I kept thinking, and it's really like franchising cybercrime. It's a franchise. It's just not McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken. I mean, the core developers build and maintain the ransomware code and the C2 infrastructure. They then recruit affiliates, often less technically proficient individuals or groups who pay a subscription fee, or more commonly agree to a revenue share. 30-70-30 or 80-20 in favor of the affiliate. The developers take a cut of the ransom while the affiliates do the dirty work of gaining access, deploying the ransom, and negotiating with victims.
This model has dramatically lowered the barrier to entry for cybercrime, as anybody can jump on board. You don't need to be a coding wizard or an exploit developer anymore. Anyone with a bit of money, basic hacking skills, and enough motivation can become a ransomware operator. I actually was having this conversation just this past week. I was talking at a cyber event, and there was a panel of security leaders, and we were talking about AI and all of these things. And one of the things that I kind of pointed out in the discussion was, because anybody can do this, you've got this massive scale of less sophisticated attacks that you still have to defend against. It's still a problem when you've got 1,000 minnows nipping at your ankles in the water, right?
Yeah.
You have to worry about the shark, but you still have to worry about the the little ones that are bugging you. It's annoying, but it's there,
Hmm.
and that's what this model brings to scale. It's an interesting challenge. Um, anyway, getting back to the story, the developers even provide dashboards for affiliates to manage their campaigns, track victims, and view their earnings. So Salesforce for the
Yeah.
dark web. Some RAS platforms offer round-the-clock support, tutorials, and even customer service for their affiliates, ensuring smooth operation. It's just, I laugh every single time we talk about this. It's nuts.
I think that CRM is called Jails Force, though. I think they've coined the name because that's where you're going to end up when they get you.
Well,
But
well done.
anyway, it, it's
Right.
it, it's chilling how professional this has become. The dark web forums are rife with reviews and ratings from these RAS services, much like you'd find from legitimate software products. Affiliates share tips, they vent frustrations, and laud the best performing ransomware strains. Some RAS groups even offer guarantees. If the victim doesn't pay, they might offer a discount on the affiliate's next campaign or a refund on their subscription fee, reinforcing these perverse sense of customer satisfaction. Lockbit in particular was known for its consistent branding, user-friendly portal, and aggressive recruitment.
And this quote unquote customer service isn't just theoretical. There was a widely reported incident where an affiliate, having paid for access to a ransomware as a service platform, found their decryptor key wasn't working correctly after a successful attack. They took to a prominent dark web forum, complaining vehemently about the faulty product. To everyone's surprise, a representative from the RAS group publicly apologized, offered a working key, and even provided a future discount on their services, all to maintain their reputation and ensure affiliate loyalty. It's a bizarre parallel to legitimate business, showing just how much these groups value their operational efficiency and public image within their own criminal ecosystem.
They don't want to get in trouble from the Better Business Bureau, right? Huh? I'll
Man, you're
I'll
on it today,
I'll
Chris.
stop it. I'll stop with these now. So all of this points to a growing, resilient, and highly adaptable ecosystem. It's not just about the malicious software, it's about the entire clandestine infrastructure supporting it. This infrastructure is inherently global and highly distributed. Command and control servers might be hosted in one country, the developers in another, affiliates operating from yet another, and victims are scattered across the globe. They leverage bulletproof hosting services that turn a blind eye to illicit activity and constantly shift their infrastructure to evade detection and takedown efforts.
Ultimately, understanding these intricate structures, the technical sophistication of the malware, and the pseudo corporate organization of these groups is key to dismantling them. It isn't just about patching a vulnerability, it's about disrupting an entire business model.
And the more we know about their techniques, their tools, and their organizational weaknesses, the better equipped we are to defend against them and disrupt their operations. It's a dynamic threat, constantly evolving, which means our defenses must evolve just as rapidly.
So join us next time on True Cyber Crimes, where we pivot from the perpetrators to the victims and explore the human cost, the devastating real world impact of ransomware attacks on individuals, businesses, and critical infrastructure.
Until then, delve deep, understand your enemy, and never underestimate the ingenuity of those behind the digital curtain.
Thanks, Chris. Good stuff.
Thanks, Nick. We'll talk to you next week.
See you.